Hey everyone, thanks for joining me for this free class. As part of the big wool show, I wanted to bring you a short tutorial class that will include 4 of my favorite crochet cords. We'll work through each of them, and I hope to have them bookmark as well on the video so you can just jump ahead if you're familiar with some of the cords already. If you've been to one of my face-to-face markets, you would have seen a few of these cords strung up around things, around my signs, around the gazebo. I love them. It's just so nice to work up. Once you get yourself into a rhythm, you can really create something beautiful for many, many different uses. So apart from the market setup, I used to use them for bag handles and also just for bag ties. Coming up to Christmas now, I'm going to work some in different colors for present bows rather than using plastic ribbons and things, so they'd be really pretty for that. And I'm also I've got 2 other projects that are on the go, which I will bring out another time. I'm going to work it into a rug coil and sew it together, and I'm also going to work on some rope for a plant hanger, that a hanging pot plant that's lost its cord, similar to this one here. So I'll be working one of them as well to replace that. So rather than looking at my face, let's get into the work and I'll go through each of the ropes individually. So this one here is called a railway cord using chains. So it's lovely and flat. It's just more of an expanded version of the chain stitch. It's got a little bit of stretch to it, but it's a dense cord. This one here is a double chain. You can see the chain length. So 2 sections of chain, and then the back looks very similar to the chain length. It's got a little bit more stretch in this one. This one is an I-cord. For any of you who know the knitted version of this, there's no difference in the appearance. They will both come out looking the same, but we'll work through the crochet version of this. It's a plump cord, and it's got quite a bit of stretch to it, but beautiful. Great for bag handles, this one. This one here is dense. It's the Lobster cord, or Romanian cord. The Lobster's fairly appropriate. It's got those bumps to the side. It's got lovely decorative features from the front, and the back both look the same, and the sides. Alright, so as far as application goes, this is great as bag handle. All of them can be used as bag handles. I would probably say that this as a strap or a belt, this would be my these 2 would be my preferences. I do really like those. I have used this as a bag handle in the past. Lovely to work, great effect. This one's a little different, I think, because it's got a different texture on the back to the front. I haven't used this as a handle. What I will show you later is I'm going to be coiling this to create a rug, which I think will be really nice. So let's get into it, and we will start with the simpler versions, the ones that are worked as a chain, and move into these 2 little more complicated versions of the rope. Right, so the first one we're going to work on is the railway cord. It's just a variation on the simple chain stitch, and this is what it looks like here. We're going to start off with, I'm using the handspun hemp cord for this one. Okay, I'm using a 4mm hook. You're going to need to keep a loose tension. We're going to go back into the chain loops, so you want to keep them relatively loose, so you're not going to struggle inserting your hook. I always like a pointed tip on my hook, so this makes it a little easier to work those stitches. Not starting with a slip knot. I'm just going to twist the cord to start. So placing the hook underneath, and I'm going to twist it in an anti-clockwise motion, just to give it that twisted loop there, if you can see that. I'm going to hold on to that just at the base of it, keep it loose, and work your first chain stitch just as normal, just like that. Now to get started, we're going to insert the hook into the base of that loop, just there, and now complete another chain stitch, and we're going to slip that working yarn through both loops. So holding on, yarn over, through one, through two. Now give the tail a little pull, and that'll help those stitches line, not too hard. Now for the next stitch and every other stitch after that, this is how we work the railway cord. You can see here we've got a double loop of the chain. We insert the hook just into the first one. So now I have 2 loops on my hook, yarn over, and then pull through both of those. This is what I mean by pulling too tight. Insert just under that top loop, yarn over again, and pull through both loops. Okay, I'm going to keep that loop loose, insert the hook into that first loop, top loop, yarn over, and slip through both. Insert your hook. I'm going to work a few of these, and then we can start to see the chains form. So we can start to see those layers of chain form. So it's denser than a standard chain, and it sits nice and flat. So to finish off for this, I'm going to cut the piece of yarn and then just pull through that loop, and that would finish it off like a normal chain. Or if you've had enough, just unloop like that. That's it. Okay, so the next one we're working is the double chain cord, and it looks like this. Strand of chains, and the back of it looks very similar to what you'd see on a standard length chain. So we're going to start on this now, and it's the only one in this tutorial that requires 2 lengths of cord or yarn to work it. For the purpose of this, I am going to use 2 contrast colors so you can see where how the chains develop. If you would prefer just to work in a single color, you can use a single cake of yarn and just pull from the center and from the outside. That will be just as easy. So for this organic cotton, it's about 4 ply, and I'm going to use a 3mm hook for it. So I downsize my hook for this. I like to get a dense rope out of this rather than a soft flimsy rope. So 3mm hook, start with a slip knot, pink one up here. Now the pink one's going to be the working yarn. It's the one I'm going to use to create my chains. So we're going to set your hand up exactly how you would work a chain stitch. I'm going to put that in there, and this second yarn is going to sit below. It's just going to sit underneath. So I'm going to be using the pink to creating my chains. To start, I'm going to take this spare yarn, bring it over the top, from the front, over the top of the hook, and down to the base. Yarn over, and I'm going to pull through both those loops, just like that. Then I'm going to do that again. At the top, to around the back, yarn over, and pull through. Yarn over. I'll just quickly move through. You can see the rhythm of it, and then we'll look at it once we've got a length made. You can get yourself into a pretty good rhythm of this too. Right, so let's just review. I'm going to loosen this, take the hook off. So this looks like a standard length of chains. And that's the second length of chains. You can see how that second yarn looped over the hook has helped create that second length, that double chain look. And then we have the back of the work, which looks similar to the back of a chain length. So just working the same stitch, but now with a jersey. This is a recycled jersey, so they do vary in thickness, but I've chosen a 10mm hook for this one. I like the size of the rope that it makes. So working the stitch the same way. Any differences to look out for with the jersey? It's got quite a stretch in it, so sometimes I'm pulling my hook tighter than the loop that I've created. So sometimes I just need to give that a little bit of a tug, just so they're even. It can create a bit of a curl on it when you're using a stretch material. So I'll show you what I'm going to do with this one. This one I'm just going to keep working on and then change colours when I run out. I'm just using up the jersey and that's in my stash. So I love that shape that this rope creates. Because when I started looking at it, it can just neatly, I'll do this better when I'm sewing it. I'll just line all those V stitches up against each other and it sits neatly. So I'll be able to keep coiling this and make a rug out of it, probably for one of my kids' rooms. And it should be pretty soft and not too lumpy underfoot. I just love the texture it creates. Right, moving on to the I cord. That's what this one here is. Beautiful cord, even on all sides. Now this is being created with the macrame rope and a 10mm hook with 3 loops. All right. So there's no difference in the appearance between a knitted I cord and a crochet I cord. It'll just come down to preference of what you prefer to work with, what you feel more comfortable with, needles or a hook. So I'll just show you how to make that crochet style one. Slip knot onto your yarn. For this one I'm using a 4mm crochet hook on the 4-ply organic cotton. I'm going to work 3 chains to start. 1, 2, 3. Now to work an I cord we're going to need 3 active stitches on the hook. So this will be our first. To create our second, we're going to go into the second chain that we created, or the second one from the hook. Insert your hook, yarn over and pull it through. So now we've got 2 active stitches on the hook. Now to create the third, we're going to go into the first chain that we created. Insert, yarn over and pull it over and through. So now we have 3. And those 3 stitches are going to create our cord. To create your cord, you're going to be working in the same direction like reading a book. You're not going to work backwards and forwards. We're going to go from the right to the left, and then that yarn is going to loop around the back, and that's how we create that circular effect when you don't actually have a front and a back of the yarn, because this yarn will move from the left back to the right to work that next stitch. There's no flipping. This can be a little tricky for crochet, because to achieve this we're going to have to drop those 2 stitches on the left and keep that one here on the right. And we're basically just going to be creating chains. Yarn over, and then we're going to pull. I'm going to keep it loose so I don't lose any chains for this first one. I'm going to insert my hook into that second loop. Then I'm going to insert my hook into my third loop. Now this may not be the most fluid example to show you, but it also is a really good example of how tricky it can be, and it will take practice and some patience to get the hang of a crochet I-cord. Some of you might adapt to this a little faster than I did too. So the other option, if you are finding that this third loop here that we work drops like that one just did, or you're not holding on to you find it a little tricky to hold on to those stitches while you work the ones on the right, I would pick up a stitch holder, like a cable holder, or a twig, anything that is a similar size to the crochet hook that you're working. So when you drop those stitches, slip that on like so. Okay, and that will make it easier to yarn over. All right, we can see, all right, and loop that through like that, and then you've got no concerns of losing any of those stitches while you're working. So then I'm going to pick up, drop the next stitch off the holder, yarn over and work that stitch. Then I'm going to drop the last one, insert my hook, yarn over and pull that through. All right, so now we've got 2 rows complete, or 2 rounds complete. So I'll just work that a few more rounds for you to see. Slipping off those 2, holding it on with my hand, slipping it through to the right. Next. And that is a crochet I-cord. So to finish off, just going to yarn over, pull through the 3 loops, chain once, and trim, let's pull out. That gives me a nice knot at the end, and that's my I-cord. So our last cord we're going to go through is the lobster cord. Kind of looks like a lobster tail, but you can also find that it's called a Romanian cord as well. It's very decorative, it's chunky, it hasn't got a lot of stretch in it either, and it's a dense cord. It looks the same from the front to the back, and it has these really nice decorative lumpy edge through the side here. Okay, we start with our slip knot, and we're going to work 2 chains. Now for this cord, we're going to be working double crochet stitch, or a single crochet in US terms. So to do this, we're going to first put in our first double crochet stitch into the first chain that we've made. Okay. Now we're going to turn our work, flip it. So we're going to be looking now at the back, but keep your crochet hook in place, and we're just going to turn the work. So we're going to look at the back of it. Now can you see we've got two bars here? The top, which would be the back loop of the stitch, which has now become the front, and part of that chain stitch that we made at the beginning. This one just here. So I'm going to insert more hook under both those loops. Just like that. So I've got 3 loops now on my hook. I'm going to draw through just those first 2. Then I'm going to complete the stitch. Okay, now we're going to flip the work again to the back, keeping the crochet hook as it is. Now you'll see this is the back of the stitch that we just worked, the back loop, which is now the front loop, and you've got these 2 parallel loops just to the side here, and we're going to insert our hook into both loops, yarn over, draw through the first 2, yarn over, and complete the stitch. Flip your work again, insert your hook into those 2 parallel loops, yarn over, draw through 2, yarn over again, and complete the stitch. And keep repeating this process until you've made the length of cord that you'd like. So we've worked a little bit now, and you can see it form. All right, so to finish this off, I'll just cut a tail. I like to just do a final chain to finish it off, just like that. And that is a lobster tail or Romanian cord. Thank you for listening. I hope you've enjoyed working those ropes. I hope you've learned a new technique and you're able to apply that to your next project. Follow me on socials if you'd like to see more of the work and see how they can apply to different projects as well. Thanks again.